Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here. Today we're going to take a look at our Game Week 37 team selection video. So I'll quickly go through how I did for Double Game Week 36. I didn't have Wilson, so the quicker we go through it, the better. And then we'll talk a little bit about Game Week 37, see how the team is looking like after I make some planned transfers. So hopefully you guys do enjoy this video. It is the penultimate team selection video on the channel, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this whole series and enjoyed following my team all throughout the season. I appreciate the support that you guys have shown me. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe and do like this video as well. Now very quickly, let's go through Game Week 36. Of course, I didn't have Wilson. For those of you guys who had Wilson and you probably captained him, drop your scores down in the comments below. I know most of you guys had really good scores, so massive props to those of you guys who went brave and went for Wilson, even though his minutes were not the most secure. Right, so fortune favored the Brave this week, but in terms of my game week score, I got 104 points. So that's not too bad, that's not too great as well. Right, it's somewhere in between the range of people who are active managers, I would say, at this point in time. So I'm not too displeased with the score. I'm alright with it, and I got a green arrow, so I can't complain too much. 74k in the world right now. And this week I actually played a 5-3-2 formation, and there were areas that I got lucky as well. So I can't complain too much at all, even though I went for Isak instead of Wilson. Right, so Edison, 8 points. Of course, I didn't have him in the starting 11 in the first place. It was Kepa, and Kepa of course was benched this game week. We don't know whether he'll start in Double Game Week 37, but he was benched, and therefore Edison came in with a jammy 8-pointer off the bench. And then as for my back 5, initially, I wasn't planning to play Estupinian. I had Rashford in the starting 11, and then after we heard the news that Rashford was unfit, I dropped him to the bench and I started Estupinian instead. I wasn't too fond of Estupinian this game week, and then of course he returns 17 points in game week 36. So awesome there, especially his haul against Arsenal, which none of us were expecting at all. Botman and Trippier of course with 2 assists in the game against Brighton. He is currently yellow flagged, but I think it's just a minor issue. He should be fine for Double Game Week 37. Botman 3-pointer. Of course, Newcastle didn't keep a clean sheet in both their games, even though they won both of them. And then Shaw, of course, with an 8-pointer. I'm pretty happy that Shaw was quite a differential this week. A couple of us left him on the bench because we had other players that we wanted to start ahead of him. But for my case, I didn't have much bench options this game week, so I went for Shaw, and luckily he returned 8-pointer. So as for Trent Alexander-Arnold, brilliant return there, 13 points this game week, and I think in general he is really starting to become the Trent of old that we are very used to, with all the attacking threat that he has, and of course they are starting to keep a couple of clean sheets as well. Now Salah, 12-pointer, 3 assists but 0 bonus points for him, but it is just the way the bonus point system works. And Alisson actually got 2 bonus points, Trent got 1 even though he got 1 goal and a clean sheet, and Salah of course 0. So Mitoma as well, not too great from him. No real returns in terms of any assists or goals. He did have 1 clean sheet point, but I was really expecting a lot more from Mitoma. But the way I see it is that I didn't have McAllister, and he was kind of the rank killer for me this week. But McAllister, of course, didn't score too well this game week as well, so I got lucky there. And Phil Foden, of course, with an assist. He won the free kick, Gundogan took it, so that was slightly lucky as well. But I was hoping for a little bit more from Phil Foden. I'm not sure whether I want to keep him, but we'll talk about Game Week 37 later on. Up front, Haaland with his 7-pointer, and Isak also with a 7-pointer. Thinking about it in hindsight, I could always say that I could have gone for Wilson, but the way I see it is, because my Game Week 37 points was Game Week 37 team was not fixed yet, I wanted more flexibility in terms of having this option available to me in Game Week 37, and that's why I went for Isak, who was slightly more secure to start in Game Week 37 as well as the 2 games in Game Week 36. So that was why I went for Isak, but in the end, of course, the swing was pretty great and Wilson scored really well, 48 points if you captain him. So kudos to those of you guys who went for him. You deserve the points. And let's now take a look at my transfer plans for Game Week 37. So for transfers this week for my team, there's a lot of permutations that I actually considered. There were so many routes that I could have gone to get more double game week players, or I could also focus on keeping some single game week players that I think will do really well. But I'm going to show you guys the combination that I think I'm the most likely to do in game week 37, and that is March to Fernandez and Isak down to Enciso. Now this of course gives me two more double game week players, because March of course is probably ruled out for the rest of the season. Isak also just has a single game week, even though I do think he could do pretty well against Leicester at home. But that said, this buys me a good couple of fixtures on top of the existing double game week players that I have. So doing March to Fernandez, of course, uses the money in my bank as well. It utilizes all of the cash that I have. I only have 0.2 in the bank, and I do have to downgrade Isak to Enciso to also fund this move. But essentially, the reason why I like this combination, as you guys will see later on, is that it gives me a full set of 9 double game week players, all from the teams that do have decent doubles this week. So United, Man City, and also Brighton. I'll be tripled up on all these teams, and I'll have 2 single game week players. So that's pretty much the thinking behind this, and I'll discuss a little bit more in the next section as to why I've chosen to keep a couple of players, namely some Man City players. So I haven't confirmed my 2 transfers yet, but assuming I make the 2 moves that you guys just saw in the previous section and I take the -4, this is how my team would look like for Double Game Week 37. And as you guys can see, I'm tripled up on Man City, Man United, and Brighton, and that leaves me with 2 single game week players, Salah and Trent, in this 3-5-2 formation. So let's talk about the Man City assets first. I have Ederson in goal, and I know full well that he may not start both games, especially if the title is wrapped up when they after they play Chelsea at home. If they do win that game, then the title is already sealed. They don't have to start a full strong starting 11 against Brighton, and they don't have to win that game at all. So there could be massive rotation in that game. Ederson is one of those players who could be at risk as well. But I don't really want to spend a transfer on a keeper. I'd rather go for high upside punts like Enciso, as you guys saw in the transfer plans just now, and I'll talk about him later on. But let's talk about Foden as well. So in terms of Man City midfielders like Foden, Mahrez, or even the forwards like Alvarez, who are differentials this week that some of us would be targeting, the thing is, none of us are sure who will start both, and to be honest, all of them could just start just one out of the 2 and then feature in a few, have a cameo in the other fixture basically. So they may get about 100 to 120 minutes out of the 180 minutes available in double game week. So I don't really think I would be willing to do Foden to Mahrez, or even just sell Foden for Bruno Fernandes, which is a move that I did consider earlier on, so that I could free up the third Man City spot, and instead of going for Enciso, I could have gone for Alvarez. But doing that, it just puts me in a situation where I'd also be hoping that Alvarez starts both, and I'm not too confident he'll start both as well. So with Man City assets or Man City differentials, as I mentioned, it's just so hard to predict. So I think I'm just going to keep Foden and just pray that he starts both. And if he starts both, then obviously there's a very good chance he gets returns. I do think as well that if he starts the Brighton game and he doesn't start the Chelsea game, Brighton have been conceding quite a bit as well. So I do fancy if Foden starts that one, he could get a couple of returns there, but let's see. Right, so Haaland up front, double game week fixture. He could also be one of those that are rested, but Haaland is also chasing his record. So let's see whether Haaland plays both. For now, the armband is on him, because whether he plays the Brighton game, I still do think he'll play the Chelsea game, and that means 90 minutes for him there. It's every chance that he could score a lot of goals against Chelsea, who aren't very good defensively now. Now, in terms of Manchester United assets, I have Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, and Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford, of course, we're going to wait and see if he's fit, right, before I actually make these 2 transfers, because these plans hinge on his fitness. It does look like he will be back in time, right? It does look positive because he is back in training now. So, of course, if he is fit, this I would feel is the ideal triple up at this point in time. Luke Shaw, Fernandes, and Rashford, because Luke Shaw is also back in that left back role now, because Varane is back from injury. So that's great, and this is, I think, the ideal Man United triple up that I would want. So that is a huge plus for the team. And then in terms of Brighton assets, I have Estupiñán, Mitoma, and Enciso. I think I'm fine with this triple up because I have one defensive asset. I also have Mitoma, who has been due a lot of returns. Let's hope that he does something against Southampton. Against Man City, it could be a tougher game, but I do fancy that he'll get something against Southampton. Obviously, McAllister is the one that I'm missing, but I think Enciso is someone who could well cover McAllister's points, especially if McAllister starts to play a little bit deeper. I do think like against Southampton, we will see McAllister more advanced, but against Man City, he could drop a little bit deeper. And I also do fancy that McAllister will start both games. For those of you who do have McAllister, because he was rested in the game against Newcastle. So either ways, I do think that McAllister is a great option, but based on my team, I'm fine to take a punt with Enciso. He has a very low ownership, and hopefully he will start both. I know that he is a little bit at risk, right? He may not start both, but against Southampton, because he just got a rest against Newcastle, I do fancy that he looks really sharp, and he'll probably get a start against Southampton as well. Against Man City, let's see. Right, and then the two single game week players, as I mentioned, is Trent and Salah. I'm fine to have them in my team, especially playing at Anfield, and they have everything to play for because they do have to win this game to fight for the top four if it is still available to them. Right, of course, Newcastle winning means that it is slightly tougher for them, but Liverpool just have to keep winning their games, so they will go all out. Trent and Salah have been returning consistently as well, so I'm pretty confident that they will get something in Game Week 37. And as for my bench, it's pretty much players that I think won't be that useful this week. I do have Trippier on the bench, who I think will be fine for Game Week 37. Leicester at home. Botman as well plays Leicester at home. But in general, I do think I'd rather have the players in my starting 11 right now in the starting 11. Trippier and Botman, they will just be on the bench. Greenwood as well, just a bench fodder, and Kepa, we don't really know whether he'll start. I don't really need him to start. Ederson will be my first choice keeper for this week. So let me know what you guys think of the team, and are there any permutations that I'm missing? And how are your teams looking like as well? And who are you going to captain for Game Week 37? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the deadline stream 3 hours before the deadline as usual. And I'll see you guys soon.